Ali, 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 yeah. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7. I praise the Lord for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank the Lord for his blessings. I'll leave us the circle 7.
to our family that couldn't hear our sound a few minutes ago. You should hear it now. Brother Kamaat, can you hear the sound now? Let me know. Put the message in the inbox if you can hear me now. It should be, the volume should be right now. Better yet, our Grand National Secretary of the State is right there. Grand Secretary of State, can you hear me on our panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gratitude. Islam. Well, all right, we know that she can hear us now. So, yeah, as I was stating, Morris Ken, when we go into this special drawing, like I said, for those who wasn't able to hear what I was saying, we'll reiterate it. Contrary to popular belief, we have been taught um, about marriage ceremonies. And like I said to our family a few minutes ago on a conference call line, there is no marriage ceremony revealed in the Bible or the Quran, that tell you exactly how to go about this. And so we have many ceremonies throughout different cultures that have been created by different people. Like I was speaking earlier, in ancient Kemet, in India, you can go into different tribes throughout Africa. You can go into Rome. You can go into Europe. No matter where you go, you can find ceremonies that have been created according to the culture of a people. However, you would not find an exact process of how a marriage ceremony is performed or revealed by prophets. And this is a very important drawing because it's in relation to our subject title. It doesn't mean that it's something wrong with a marriage ceremony. That's not what we're getting at. Or that it shouldn't be demonstrated. That's not what we're saying. That's why our subject title is dealing with Yehoshua reveals the marriage law of man and wife from Allah. So the marriage law is pretty much the most important aspect, of this special event that takes place when we deal with a bond or a tie between man and woman. Like I said, you won't find, the actual performance of the right ceremony and form. All you are told is man, should have him a wife. So how is this bond consummated to where it has true meaning? Well, we can see when it relates to our ayat that is flowing across the bottom of the screen. This is very important because it touches on this. Look at it, those of you who are watching this, and be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe and share this. What is a marriage tie? It is not what the priest may say or do. There's but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. So this automatically negates, the ceremonial rite and form of what man does. This ain't what I'm saying. This is what the Moorish Holy Quran says. You see, it does not cancel out, like I said, the way that we chose to demonstrate. Like I said earlier, we have a beautiful ceremony that is actually demonstrated in the Moorish American government. Nothing wrong with that. But it is Allah who bring two souls together. It is Allah who creates the soul tie. Make no mistake about it, family. It's very important that we understand this, because if not, one will begin to think that this cannot be done except that they go go before a priest, a preacher, or whatever you want to call it, to consummate the unity. You can't see a law ceremony, so you can't even say, well, how does Allah perform his marriage? But we have the instructions in the laws that have been given to us in our present chapter, which will reveal exactly what is meant. So it's very important that we understand what a marriage tie is. That is special tie cannot be broken. Anything that Allah joins, if you break that or you sever what Allah has been joined, then you are going against his law. It's very important that we understand that. We're not dealing with the laws of man. We're dealing with the laws of the great God. There's an ayat here, and we can go through the chapter as it has already been revealed to us and touch on these measures. But listen to the instruction. In ayat 1, we are told that law forbids adultery. But in the eyes of the law, adultery is an overt act, the satisfaction of the sensuous self outside the marriage bonds. And when you look at this as special drawing, in other words, we are talking about loosely gratifying the low desire. And in most cases, adultery really deal with means of prostitution. It can deal with also somebody coveting something that don't belong to them. Messing with someone else. There can be no adultery, if one has no knowledge of the law, because the great God Allah doesn't judge a people until he have given them the law. Prophet Noble Drew Ali say, I forgive you for all things that you've done prior to coming forth. And the marriage that you have had under Rome, if you just went up into their city hall, for example, and got a marriage certificate, or if you did the European rite ceremony and form, you may kiss the bride there. That wasn't consummated by the great God. So if it wasn't consummated by the great God and under his law, in all actuality, that marriage really wasn't sufficient. That's why when we come to this special level in the Moorish American government, the marriage ceremony is demonstrated even after those who have thought that they were under a marriage union, under the Roman construct. They realized that wasn't a true marriage. So they're really living outside. A lot of people don't know they're really living outside of wedlock as it deals with God's law. Because these are not priests when you go up into the city hall and so forth and so on. And then when you go into the church, the mosque or the synagogue, the rite ceremonies and forms are demonstrated, and created by the people based upon the culture. And there are many different ways of that. But again, that does not consummate the marriage tie. I didn't say that. That's what our Moorish Holy Quran say. Now notice what it says. Now marriage in the sight of law is but promise made by man and woman by the sanction of the priest to live together until death. That's marriage in the sight of the law. A promise between man and woman by the sanction of the priest to live together until death, right? Now, what about Allah's law? See, no priest or officer has the power from Allah to bind two souls in wedded love. See, there it is right there. No priest or officer has the power from Allah to bind two souls in wedded love. This is what we're getting at. What is a marriage tie? We are told it is not what the priest may say or do. There is but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. Right there in our Moorish Holy Quran. I didn't say it. I'm quoting what the book said. It went on, or it goes on, and we are told it is the love of Allah that finds its way into the two, man and woman's hearts, and that is all ever to be. Your priest cannot use this or cause this to be part and self. It is the promise of the two that they will love each other until death. Is love a passion that is subject to the will of man? Nope. And what love are we talking about? To love each other until death. Because some of our brothers and sisters, have fallen short in this new era in time, and they can't love each other, through what they like to call the honeymoon phase. The first 6 months or maybe a year, 2 years. Less knowing, loving each other till death. Give them a little time and they can't stand each other. And then they got to go to somebody outside of the self and have some form of marriage counseling. They can't stand to be in each other's presence because somebody got bored. Somebody said that they are tired of putting up with what they've been putting up with. See, when you make a vow, a sacred vow in the presence of the Most High, that ain't something that you can just cast away easily, family, and not deal with the consequences of your actions. If Allah has brought two together and joined them, and that has been a promise between you and these special ones when it comes to bond, then when you sever that tie, it's most definitely going to be some karma that come behind that. Listen, going through the chapter, it says, can man pick up his love as would a gem and lay it down or give it out to anyone? I always talk about that love that can't be sold or bought. Like I say, you may love a thing, but you put a price on it, and you'll get rid of it. You love your car until you see something else better, and then you'll sell that. You might love a ring or jewelry or whatever it is that you may love, but you will sell that too, especially when it comes to hard times. And there are some who will put a price tag, especially in this new era and time, on their relationship, between, their marriage tie. There are women that are boldly out there saying, and it's mostly our sisters. We ain't trying to pick on the sisters, but it's mostly unconscious. Let's say our unconscious Asiatic sisters, that have fallen into the earthbound thought pattern, that would tell you that their man is worth what it is that he can make from his paycheck. I seen one sister say that basically, if her man made $100,000 a year, that still ain't enough for her. If he makes $70,000, $80,000, then that's just not enough, for her to be in union with this special one. I seen that today, and you'll see these things popping up via social media, and there are sisters out there saying, don't establish a union with brothers, and if he can't say that he want to pay for her bills up front, if he's not willing to bring money and fiat to the table, then there's no union between the two. Now, Islamically, if we go into the laws of Islam, one is to find a mate, a brother, because sisters ain't got no business looking for no husband. It's the brothers that look for the wife. He who findeth the wife findeth a good thing. That's what the scriptures say. So the brother himself should make sure that it is that he could take care of his family, and basically have enough where it is suitable. But if that wife that you are looking to is more expensive, just like a particular item that that is outside of your means, then it would be crazy to invest your time and finances in that and find out that this sister is ungrateful, and she feel like you don't have enough to bring to the table. So we have to really be weary of these things in this era and time. And Sister Felicia Rashad, I seen a video and she was speaking on what happened with a lot of these sisters. And she didn't know it, but she was speaking really, from the Book of Fire, written by a chairman. Because she said most of the young sisters out here now, women in general, don't realize it, that their relationships have been unsuccessful because they have been in competition with other women based upon that special measure. She want to basically outlive those who is perceived as the Joneses when it comes to the marriage. So there can be a perfect bond. But if you have those that are insecure and they looking at people, but look at them, they had their ceremony in a lavish way. Even if this ceremony was bought with haram money, money that is not normally earned by the average person. It could have been money that was gained from a robbery. It could have been money that was gained from, slanging death to our people, drug dealing. It could have been money that was gained, from all sorts of ways that are forbidden. And the average individual, Joe Blow, just don't have the means. So what our sisters are saying is that they want someone that has illegitimate money, because even those who have legitimate jobs in this economy that we are living in right now, there's a struggle. The more money, the more problems in regards to dealing with those relationships, because when one has that rich man that has the mansion, they deal with the same struggle as one that has a basic income, because the average rich person is going to spend more money, on luxury items, in the mortgage, that they end up paying. If they don't own the land, that home still belongs to somebody else. Rare it is that you have somebody with a whole lot of money, that manage it properly, so to speak. And so this is why you see people, even right now, saying they make $80,000 a year and $90,000 a year, and there's a strain on these people. You see? And one may be up at some minute, but if your health fail you, then everything it is you work for, if there's no successor to take up the job of maintaining that lifestyle, it's going to come to an end. So then what happens? You know, what happens now that you had the rich man, brothers? You know, and I'm talking about he takes the particular unfaithful woman off of your hand. And this rich man, wealthy man, or whatever you want to call him, falls. You know, the business is not successful. You know, what you think that woman, you know, that ghost you or ran off, you know, what she gonna do? If she left you for a lack or what she perceived to be a lack thereof, then she gonna leave him too. You see, she's what you call a branch hopper, you know, jumping from branch to branch. Monkey branching is what they call it. Look that term up. It's a real term out here in the community, you know, of relationships that deal with monkey branching. Holding on to, you know, another union while you know that you're in the union with someone else. And so now it has become so crazy that you have brothers that are more looking for their peace than anything. Behind every no good man is a no good woman. Behind every no good woman is a no good man. But what made them that way? You know, again, competition. And the chairman goes deep into the detail of games of competition. You even have the spouses in competition with each other. Because Rome created this, and this is why you see failure in this new era and time, in spite of how grandiose the ceremony was. 1 minute you love each other, 1 minute you hate each other. One say, I can't even stand to hear the sound of your voice. I reached that special point. Love, we are told, you know, it says, can love be brought a soul like sheep? That's the same question I was asking a few minutes ago. Love, listen, is the power of Allah that binds two souls and make them one. A man can't do that. There is no power on earth that can dissolve this bond. That's the bond that Allah has demonstrated in love. That's the love that you rise in. Now, when you fall in love, that's the love that deal with man and woman. When it comes to dealing with the carnal or the physical degree. But love is the power of Allah that binds two souls and make them one. And there is no power on earth that can dissolve this bond. So don't confuse Allah's love, love divine, you know, with love and lustful desires when it comes to dealing with the carnal flesh. It even states, as it follows up, the bodies may be forced apart by man or death for just a little time, but they will meet again. It says, now, in this bond of Allah, we find the marriage tie. All other unions are but bonds of straw, and they who live in them commit adultery. So if you are limited in your mind or your thought pattern, you believe that you fell in love, and what the priest demonstrated in the ceremony, the rite in the form, you know, is the same of Allah's ceremony, rite, and form that you've never seen. It's just simply that which brings the marriage tie. It's true love. If you think that's the same, you don't know it. You living in adultery. Because the true marriage between a God man and God woman has to do with them being in a union under the supreme reality. if they have not united through the deific tie, in most cases, the ceremonial, right, and form in the marriage tie, which is but a bond of straw, will unravel itself, in due time. Now it says, but more than this, the man or woman who indulges in lustful thoughts commits adultery. So you can have a ceremony right and form, but if that ceremony right and form was just to consummate so you can indulge in lustful thoughts, and it had nothing to do with the great God Allah, you can do all the jumping over the broom that you want to. You can do all the you may kiss the bride all you want to. But that bond of straw, again, will unravel in due time because it was based upon the carnal or things that deal with the reality of the manifest. And again, it goes on, it says, whom Allah has joined together, man cannot part. Whom man has joined together, live in sin. There it go. So if you think, again, the ceremony right form of a priest, no matter what culture it come from, is what really made your bond a true bond, is what consummated the marriage tie, then you are out of your mind. Because Allah is the one that joined two souls before they even came into the manifest. You can't go out there and seek your twin flame. They was already there with you from the beginning. Now you may have an illusion and believe that someone is for you. And all it takes is a little time. And then now you're moving on again. Why you think you have people that done been through 4 and 5 marriages? Because the Most High was not at the head of the union. See, when we talk about deific tie, we talk about even getting on the level to where one has to go through a matrimonial hajj that deals with them being masters of themselves. The brother and the sister has to be healed. The union has to be based upon truth and right. The brother and the sister both would have had to went into self-mastery and indulged in their own shadow work, so to speak. And then they would be good for each other. But remember, whom Allah has joined together, man cannot part. But whom man has joined together, live in sin. I don't care what ceremony, rite, and form you think that bring you together. It is Allah who brings those together, where the union remains for eternity. But lo, I say that he who in the heart desires to possess that which is not his own is a thief. Huh? So if you are looking with lustful eyes, brothers, at another man's wife, a union that has been brought together by the Most High, then you're a thief in the sight of the Most High. For you, sister, if you are looking at that which is not of you, according to God, when it comes to looking at somebody else's husband, then you too are a thief. It go both ways. This is adulterous behavior. The thing which men see not with their eyes of flesh are more worth in the sight of Allah. The thing which men see not with the eyes of flesh are more worth the thing that men cannot see. And you can't see the heart of that woman, but you can see the actions of that woman, which would determine whether or not you and her are unequal to yoke. And the same thing, the brothers, the sisters can't see the heart of the brothers. And no one knows the evil that lurks in the heart of a man or a woman until, these things are made manifest. A good name is worth 1,000 times a mine of gold. That's what we are told. And he who says a word or does a deed that injures or defames that name is a thief. So if there's a godly union, brothers and sisters, and be it a brother or sister that injures or defame, that union, then again, they become thieves. Upon the table of law, we read that thou should not covet anything. You ain't got no business wanting something that don't belong to you. Especially when you see a union. How you being in oneness under the covenant that has come through the great God, gonna sever that tie and run into another union and think that it will be prosperous. And the great God Allah tests us, brothers and sisters. If you have a longing in your heart and you already had what you needed, you already had a proper union, but yet you long for something else. You are coveting something else other than what you have, because your mind has become idle. And you run into that other union thinking that the grass is green on the other side. The Most High will test you. He will give you exactly what it is you think that you desire, what you have been longing for. And then you have to end up with the regret that you actually severed the tie with your twin flame. And if they got any sense, they definitely ain't going to let you come back. It will be foolish because on one end, it's a test for you to show you that you had everything that it was that you had, but you chose to go outside of that. And now you got to wear that. You can't spin the block and run back into the arms of a God man or a God woman. Now you got to deal with the karma that come with that. And this may be a test as well for the one that may have to go through this in order for them to learn the difference between the love of Allah and carnal love. Not that you might have been in a righteous state and this demonstration unfolds, but it shows the difference, because sometimes we could wish that one would come into divinity, and we can see that beauty in these particular ones, but if they can't see it in themselves, be it a brother looking for that or what they see, the good qualities that they see that one can demonstrate, you are actually coming into union with potential, but not the reality. So a brother may love the potential that he see in a God woman or a potential God woman, but she may not be ready to unfold into that. She may feel like that she have lost her drive to continue in that type of union, and that's where the conflict come in. And it's the same thing with a woman that may see in a brother that she's trying to change, and see his good traits and see that he can be divine, but that's just potential. And most people in the West have become wedded with potential mates. And then when we find out that these special ones didn't want to live up to the potential, sometimes it could cause a good brother to go bad, and it can cause a good woman to go bad. and you see the infighting that we see going on right now between the genders, the brothers and the sisters. But again, upon the table of law we read, thou should not covet anything. To covet is an all-consuming wish to have anything that is not right for anyone to have, brothers and sisters. And such wish in the spirit of the law is theft. So you're a thief. And we already know that's one of the traits of the lower self. What are the traits of the lower self? Hatred, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harm. If we look at that, these are degrees. Sometimes you have those who spawn out of control, and that's what they demonstrate. They start with the hatred. They end up with the theft. They will even murder each other and harm each other based upon the European rites of passage. Most women, if they see a man that is wealthy, it always go their way when it comes to dealing with, the marriage under Rome, because Rome has made it where the woman in most cases will win. And that's why a woman would like to have that ceremony under Roman law. If you want to deal with a real woman in this Moorish realm of marriage, if we dealing with a marriage tie and we have a ceremony in our Moorish American government, and this is after Allah has already made the bond, if we have a marriage tie under the Moorish American government, if there's a separation, equality sits at the end of what goes on. But in the Roman arena, you see most of our sisters, like I say, they end up going for the gusto, and trying to take everything it is that a brother has. Unfortunately, and if a brother got some sense, they have one thing under their law, they deal with a prenuptial agreement. If a woman is not willing to agree with that on the Roman law, you can guarantee and bet that her mind is on the money that the brother has. Her mind is on the materialism. If a woman is all right with a ceremony, what's wrong with having a ceremony, without a contract, a physical contract, where it actually causes conflict that drags out for years in most cases. The way that Romans deal with it, and this is a test. This is how you can test one. Because if one truly loves you, then that love is not, predicated upon the premise, of what your wallet looked like. And like I said, these are all games of slavery and competition that have been invented to keep the family divided. Right now, our sisters are the leading, unconscious Asiatics are the leading group of people, that have come up with this senseless list on what they're looking for in a man. And most of them end up being manless, in conflict. And in fact, then after a while, when they find out, for example, that, they call this strong black women, independent women. There's a lot of them now that are saying, I'm tired of doing this by myself. I'm tired. I want to be soft. And I was talking about this earlier. A woman should already be soft. We already had the ingredients of what a Moorish American God woman looked like. And there are many different aspects dealing with warning a young brother before he even gets old enough in wisdom to come into a union with a woman. Then have marriage instruction for the woman and the man. So we have the ins and the outs, the sister is able to see what type of ingredients, pardon self, that the God man should have in order to be a true husbandman. And the brother is also able to see the traits and the true ingredients, that are in the God woman. If you cannot see, ish, in the brother, sister, then we know that he is not more God than a mere man. If you cannot see Isha in the sister, brother, then you know that she is not more goddess than she is a mere woman. So try, if you will, test the theory, and you'll see how that turn out, unfortunately. So again, what is a marriage tie? It's not what the priest may say or do. There's but one true marriage, and Allah alone is the one that can perform this marriage. Remember, every other bond is a bond of straw, and it's really adultery. If you lusting for that brother when it comes to dealing with his wealth, sisters, because we know sisters weaponize their bodies, as well. And the same thing when it comes to a brother. If you are lusting after the manifest and that's all you see, then what happens, when the health of the sister start failing, and she got to get some surgery, based upon certain aspects, or the brother, when the sun goes down, upon his stream of pleasure, then what you gonna do? We already know what Rome has produced out here. And they got various toys and everything they like to play with. We already know about all that madness. But the thing is, when it come down to dealing with, our brothers and sisters, they have learned this behavior and the culture from the Roman. Savagery. Some of the sisters now looking for what they call dark romance. Well, what you think come with that? Because it goes beyond the lustful thought, of the concept of letting someone put you in bondage. In some cases, it goes into, the other party, so to speak, wanting you to have multiple partners. You may have a partner that's, into the other gender. And it gets savage. But the main thing is that all of that, is foolery, tomfoolery. The key is, where's that God woman that is in her higher state of consciousness and demonstrating that degree of Isha? Where's that brother for the sister that's demonstrating the degree of Ish? Spirit man and spirit in the woman. There's no gender in all actuality. It's the great God. That's the marriage tie. That's the deific will. The brother has to first link his will up with deific will, and the sister too must link her will up with the deific will. They must circle the seven within themselves and master themselves. They got to master themselves in every degree, of the chakras. From, the highest point to the lowest point. That's the work that has to be done. They have to overcome these things, because if not, they will be the conflict that causes the severing of the tie. If the work has not been done, if their wheels are not spinning the same way, in the same direction. If one is all over the place when it comes to dealing with Their wheels, you got some of them spinning toward the east and some spinning toward the west, or all of them spinning toward the west. If they are not in harmony, harmonic, movement, moving in the same direction in a peaceful degree of unfoldment, there's going to be some conflict. This is the work that has to be done on the plane of soul, but it can only be done under the province of the great God Allah. His 7 eyes, the 7 eyes of Allah. You see? There's a drawing here I'm going to go into, and then I'm going to open up the floor that I have here. Let me open it up. Let's see. I have my window here. Let's see. We'll just hit entire screen. And I'm going to share this. Grand Secretary of the State, can you see my screen sharing?
Yes, sir.
Islam, gratitude, praise be to Allah. Now, there are many different words that deal with marriage, but this is the main one that you will hear him speaking of in Orthodox Islam. It's called nakaha. Sometimes they say nikah, but this word nakaha, it means to tie. We're talking about the marriage tie. It means to make a knot. Also, contract or cement. It means to marry, right? Then it goes into the various definitions. Nakaha, which means he married. Yea married, which is nakatahum. Then we have yankihu, which means yea married. We have he marries again, which is yanki. Then we have yanki, yankina, which means marry. Then it says they women marry, inkihu. Then it has marry, O you men, ankiha. Then it has I give in marriage, tunkihu. Give in marriage, inkihu. Give in marriage, yastakna kihu. Wish to marry, nikah. That's the wish to marry. That's the main one you see people talk about. So this is a wish to marry, to come into a union. Nikahan, marriage. The root has been used in the Quran in the above forms, the Holy Quran, about 23 times. So this is it. The basic aspect, though, of dealing with it means to tie, to make a knot, a contract, a cement, or marry. You see? And these are not dealing with worldly contract, worldly ties, worldly knots. It's not talking about worldly cement. You see? This is the main one. Now they have other measures also in regards to dealing with, this word marriage. And this is actually connected to the word that deals with insan, a man. This is one of the words that's used for man. Not man, but perfection, pardon self. Not insan, this is esan. To worship Allah as you see it. So taken in permanent marriage, fortifying a place or a person, marrying. This is mushinon. This is word mushin, musin, deals with what we call being a doer of good deeds, so to speak. And they showing the connection of this to Hassan, fortified, fenced in. So if a brother, has not come into his mastery when it comes to dealing with the impregnable doctrine, if he is not well fortified in his mind and his heart, then most likely that union, it will fail. Look at this. You have to be well guarded in chastity, chaste, modest woman, a free woman who is not a slave to what? Her passions and desire. And the same thing go for the brother. You know, one who is chaste or content. You got to be content. If there's no contentment, if there's not a fortress en route here to be guarded, to be inaccessible, can't nobody just come in there and break up that union. You know? But if a brother or sister is leaving the options open, then you already know what they think. You see? Also, here's another one. Hataba. This is powerful because hataban, it means to speak, to make a sermon. This is actually connected to the word katamin, katab, like a book. You know, preach or deliver exhortation, it states. Kataban, katibatan, to ask in marriage. Katabun, a thing, or affair, a cause of an affair. So one has to be married to the message, you know, that is of divinity as well. There has to be a marriage, you know, between the great God Allah in relation to dealing with that deific tie. You got to be married to the truth. You got to be married to the love of Allah. You got to be married to the peace of Allah, the freedom, his attributes, before you can think about marrying one outside of the self. Before you think about having an affair with somebody outside of the self, brothers and sisters, you got to be married to the message of the prophet and the law of the prophet that was sent to you with the marriage laws. If you're not married to the law, then chances is that that marriage will become a failure. Listen, cause of an affair, the matter of business. You got to be married, you know, to that which is about the business of your great God Allah, the line that unites the divinity of the matter, object and affair that one seeks or desires to do. Before you desire to unite with somebody else, your desire has to be for the Creator, or that may be a subject of discourse. You see, sound judgment in legal matters, legal according to divinity, a proposal of the marriage. You know, before you propose, man, you got to be on point. A declaration, a proclamation has to be made. Goodness gracious. Before you even get to that point. So we have to ask ourselves, are we married to our 7 acts? Are we married to the law? Before we go to talk about we falling in love. Listen, here's another one. Zaja, to marry anyone. 2, couple, anything with a pair, a mingle, right? Listen to what it says. Zauj, azwaj, companion, mate, spouse, husband or wife, individual, when consorting with another, that in which individuals are united. Kind, species, class, or sex, pair, couple, each of a pair. This is really just talking about the union. Zoajini, 2 individuals paired together, each pair. Zoaja, to join together, give in marriage, couple unite as a fellow pair. So you have to be united in mind, salvation, our God, and unity. You have to be united according to the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. The prophet said, in unity there is strength. Now we may take this as just a collective of the community, but in divine unity, the strength that relates to a wedded couple or those who have come together, you know how much a brother and a sister that has already consummated under divinity and come together in oneness, you know how much they can accomplish together when they are moving accordingly. Because we already know that the child love that comes through mother and father, this represents the triune Allah. But when you break that union up, in most cases, hellacious conditions follow that. That's why we tell you can't have no divorcing up here in the Moorish American government. We ain't holding you. But even though two may go their separate ways, there's no such thing as divorce law in the Moorish American government. Zawanja, we wedded, give in marriage, or pair them. He conjoins or mixes to wajah, is paired or united. Zawajun, wife, husband, pair, kind, Zawajin, Zawajain, husband, wife, two kind, pairs, comrade. So y'all got to be close, brothers and sisters. You have to be a friend to each other to be successful. Right? Here's another one. Let's see. And this one is actually dealing with, really just going into, actual history that actually gives examples of what take place, when you get into the involvement of men. Because there was some trial and error even when it comes to Prophet Muhammad and his companions. You see? I see this is connected to Zada, to increase, add, or give in surprise, to cause to increase, exceed in number, make an addition. So a lot of this we can see, as an additional wife, or it may just deal with an increasing of the union as well. Accession, increase, or addition, to increase, suffer, and increase by argument. Zaid, increase, addition. It states excess, more, the name of a companion of the Holy Prophet Ibn Haritha, whose wife Zainab he married after her divorce from Zaid. Right? Now this is the Islamic law that's talking about this divorce. Like I say, we don't demonstrate the divorce concept in our Moorish law. But it says Zaid became one of the earliest believers in Islam. He belonged to the tribe of Kalib and was taken prisoner in the childhood and sold as a slave. And he was brought by Khadija's brother, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, who gave him over to his sister. And she in her turn presented him to the Holy Prophet, who, as was his wont, liberated him. Zaid was so much attached to the Prophet, Holy Prophet, that when the Holy Prophet gave him the option of accompanying his father to his home or remaining with him, Zaid chose the company of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet did not adopt him and his son. But on account of his great attachment and love for the Holy Prophet, he was called by the son of Muhammad. Zainab was the daughter of the Holy Prophet's aunt, Umayma, who was the daughter of Abdul Muttalib. She too was one of the early Muslims. The Holy Prophet proposed to her brother that she should be given in marriage to Zaid. This was Prophet Muhammad, choice. Her parents were averse to this match, only yielded under pressure from the Holy Prophet. And it said really that when the parents don't really agree with marriage, sometimes that bond is not accepted. That's in Islamic law too, but under the Prophet, this was done. It says they both desired that the Holy Prophet himself should marry Zainab. And the marriage was, however, not a happy one. So this is a marriage on the Prophet Muhammad, and it wasn't a happy marriage. So it states Zaid expressed the desire to the Holy Prophet to divorce Zainab. The idea was grieving for the Holy Prophet, for it was he who had insisted upon this marriage. Zaid divorced Zainab, and he concealed the cause of failure of the marriage in his mind. But according to the Holy Quran, the responsibility of the failure of marriage rested upon Zaid and not upon Zainab. The Holy Prophet knew well that the marriage arranged by him proved unsuccessful and was morally bound to accept her as his wife and respect the wish of her family. Listen to this. So when you look at it, that's a union between Prophet Muhammad himself, and that wasn't enough to keep them in union. And even the Prophet basically ended up having to respect that wish of that particular one, so to speak, according to that aspect. And it's the same here. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, all the teaching that he give us, even his law is not enough if you got somebody with an NBC thought pattern, that's in opposition to the truth coming from a brother or a sister. Big facts. So I mean, it don't get no plainer than the truth, family. So you can be under the law, but if it's not in the brother or the sister, conflict still can cause, some drastic measures to take place. But it says sadaka, to set a pavilion, to cover with and on it, to set up a story pavilion, a house top, shed or shed on courtyard. And this is actually talking about, pardon self, like a courtyard, a pavilion. That was a different word. I'm actually looking for sarah, which means to make glad or rejoice or be glad. Sarara, to gladden or to make delight, happiness. Soror, to rejoice. Joy which is filled in the breast or inner joy. When it is manifest, is called hobur or soror. Soror, ijm, is infinitive masrur, which is rejoice again, to speak secretly. Divulge a secret, manifest a secret, asra. Sarah air, which is a secret heart, conscience, marriage, origin, choice, a part, a mystery, secretly in private. This is really talking about the feelings that is concealed between one, a joyful feeling and a love that only the great God Allah can bring forth. It talk about to conceal or reveal or manifest a couch, a throne. And that make me think about, Set. Her name in ancient Kemet means throne. So if a goddess is not in a Ma'atic mindset to be the throne of a God man from whence he reigns supreme, then how can he truly be a executive ruler of his household? If she is not in the mindset of truth and right, and she's not willing to receive that type of instruction, then how can the man again rule from the throne of her heart? See, both the brother and the sister has to meet in the nearest place where they can meet the great God Allah. And both has to reign supreme from the throne of divinity. That mighty Goliath of the ego has to be stripped from a brother and a sister, to receive this type of joy, so to speak. Also there's a measure here that deals with Sahara. Now notice the Sahara is actually that which deals with heat, a desert storm. So that means that, they're going to have some situations, that might be, heat filled. It's going to be some times, to where you know, the brother and the sister almost at an oasis in their journey, you know, and they can either be injured by this heat, you know, and allow the heat as it would in the desert to consume one, or endure, just as a Bactrian, you know, camel, which represents endurance, you know, having its own storage, you know, of what it needs to sustain itself. Symbolically, this would represent what the great God Allah has put in that God man and God woman. Or else their relation will dissolve, so to speak, under the heat of various different conflicts that may test that union. Listen, Sirun means relationship by marriage. Why is that being compared to the heat of the sun? Relationship on the woman's side. You see, and it says, Yusharu shall be melted. In most cases, that's where the union starts at. Between man and woman, and there's a union, you know, that will cause a meltdown from the brother or the sister. Goodness gracious. It go both ways. Here's another draw. And this is actually connected to the word asama. Asama is a very powerful word. It means to protect, prevent, hinder. So there's a protection under Allah's covenant that prevents and hinder. It's a matter of defense, you know, where one is able to defend their union, preserve, hold fast to, abstain, you know, save and keep anyone safe from evil. You know, that's that impregnable doctrine we was talking about earlier. Persevere. You know, you got to persevere when you're in the desert of your emotions, brothers and sisters. Formerly, seek revenge, refuge, pardon self, not revenge, but itasama, which means to hold fast or lay hold upon, protect oneself from evil. Take hold of that most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. Abstain from sin. It's the summer. Abstain. You're talking about abstinence, you know, but are you abstain, brothers and sisters? Prevented oneself. Can you prevent yourself but demonstrate that which is against Allah's marriage type? Can you preserve yourself from sin? It's matun, defense, guardianship, prevention, preservation, protection, immunity from sin, virtue, chastity. He will protect. See, that's the real protection you talking about, sister. Sisters say they want a man that can protect them. If he don't have God's protection, you know, by night and by day, then there is no protection. So if you're looking for the protector is the saving power that God, you know, puts in him. But if you don't allow him to be that type of protector, then how you expect to be protected? If you won't let him be the God man. And a God woman can be a protector too. It go both ways. Look, Issama, which means Issamatun, bonds, ties, preventions, preservations of. Yeah, same thing. You know, they have another drawing here. Let's see here, this word. Which is actually for farads, which is to impose law, prescribe, or ordain, enact, settle, fix, ratify, appoint, command. We know the great God Allah is the only one that can really impose law, prescribe, or ordain something. You see, enact, settle, fix, ratify, appoint. It is not what the priest does, it's the great God. Command and observation or obedience to, sanction, assign, be aged. You know, it even says in one of the words, old cow, ordinance, settlement, settled portion, jointure, stipulation, appointed, determined, settled one, allotted. The Most High that really do this here. He ordained, undertook to perform, binded, sanctioned, imposed, decreed, settled. And it goes on. We have ordained, yea, have settled, fixing in marriage, portion, dowry, stipulation, fixed. So when Allah has demonstrated a measure to fix is solved, but the brother and the sister has to solve the fix within the self to become settled ones, determined, and the too old, I see this word old, that lets it be known. That's what causes, prosperous marriage when it comes to aging together. Where a brother and a sister can grow old together. I see another measure here, malaka, which means to possess, become the owner of, conquer, have control, rule. This is really king. A brother can't be a king without a queen. Take a wife, have power, reign, be capable of obtaining. A queen can't reign either by herself. You see? Not without the great God Allah being at the head. Have authority, hold malak. So the authority that you seek really comes from the divinity, that you grow into under obedience of the great God. To transfer property, to give anyone possession, to give support. You keep what you give away, though, brothers and sisters. So there's nothing wrong with a brother and a sister being submissive to each other. You keep what you give away. Amalakahu, they gave him in marriage. Malik. That's one of the attributes of the great God Allah, to be a king. Two different words from the same root. The former signifies master and the latter king. According to the rule of form and derivation in Arabic, an additional letter as alif or malik gives the meaning of intensity. Thus, a master or lord is more than a king. The use of the word malik, a master or lord, in the verse is to show that Allah is not guilty of injustice if he forgives his servants, because he is not a king or judge, but more properly a master. Being master, he can forgive and show mercy whoever and in whatever manner he may like. You see, and Allah shows brothers and sisters mercy. Listen to what it says here. Ma malikat aman nakum. He has possessed your wives, what your right hands possess. Prisoners of war. Our sisters get upset about that. What prisoners of what war? It can be a war between the higher self and the lower self if one is a prisoner to the lower self. Not in the sense of a slave, as a man outside of you ruling you, but really it can be the conditions. Look, it goes again. Master, owner, sovereign, who possesses the right over a thing and has the power to deal with it as one likes. Dominion, monarch, kingdom, mighty dominion, two angels. Malikain, that should be the brother and the sister, coming together as two angels, angelic degrees. Here's another one, Malaha. It says to put salt or to become salty, but that's the wrong one. It's actually look like Malaka, to erase, suck, wash, or Mala Amina. Oh no, it was still the connection to the Malaka, but a different aspect. They was referred to that earlier, pardon self. These words have connection to the root, but it says to possess, to become the owner of, or conquer, have control, rule, take a wife again, capable of, and that's really going over the same degree of what we had a few minutes ago. Didn't know why they didn't go further than that. Let's see here. They was talking about Moses there. Went to Nakah. We already gave that definition. And all of the rest of the definitions are coming from that. So these are all the definitions that are given to the marriage. And the great God Allah is most definitely the one who bind a brother and a sister. Praise be to Allah. Like I said, the marriage that you go through between a brother and a sister, under man's law, it's limited. But when it comes to the great God's law, as you see it right here flowing across the bottom of the screen, the great God Allah is the only one that can perform this special marriage. You see, the marriage law of man and wife from Allah. Once we understand that, then a sister would not be upset if she can't get this grandiose ceremony that she's looking for under man's law, because she realized that they are already one. You can feel the love of the great God Allah, but the union has to be, again, based on the union between the brother and the sister within as well as without. And then the ceremony is just really the icing on the angel food cake. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to open up the floor for our family to come forth and give their measures. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to put it here, I'm going to drop this link, so we can even open it up for, some of the brothers and sisters in the public, to come forth and give a brief measure if they would like to come here. All is well. Then we'll get to our fishes. So if you want to hit that link and come up in here and give your measure on the drawing or whatever, all is well. But at this time, what we're going to do, we're going to open up the floor, for our Moorish kin as well on the conference call to come forth, and praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. We'll be watching the panel as well as opening up the floor to our Moorish kin. So *6 your phone, Moors, if you have a measure, to demonstrate in regards to dealing with the subject matter. And remember, we're dealing with apples and oranges, not nuts and bolts. *6 your phone, Moors. Can the Moors hit me on the conference call? Islam. Islam.
Islamism. Let me first rise and give praise to our Father God Allah. Give honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Also want to give honors to our Muslim. I also want to give honors to you, the National Assistant Grand Chief, Shadu, Chef Suel. This beautiful class that you came forth with. You gave a brilliant demonstration in regards to marriage and what it is to be a Moorish American and what a Moorish American marriage is. You focus on Ayah 4 out of our chapter 23. Yehoshua reveals the marriage law of man and wife from Allah, and you focus on Ayah 4. What is a marriage tie? It is not what the priest may say or do. There is but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. In Islam, one thing I thought about, when we go through these classes every day as Moorish Americans, and as divine ministers, it becomes repetitious for us to hear these chapters, but it definitely gets stronger and stronger. Every time your chapter, every time you hear the prophet's teachings, the spirit of it has a different essence, the next time that you hear it. So I just give honors for that revelation. One thing that I see in the Circle 7 is each section has a different revelation. And in this section begins the revelation of the instructions of the prophet. And the prophet giving us an instruction of a marriage. And, we just come up out of the teachings of Yehoshua. And, it's just great to have these different instructions. The prophet teaches lessons of spiritualism, lessons about ourselves, lessons about Yehoshua, and he also gives us instructions about marriage. He also, teaches us the law, and it's also represented in our Act 7, when it speaks about marriage, as husbands must support their wives and children, and you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of faulty men. And so, we see here it is as a part of our law to have this union of marriage. And this marriage is not something that a man can put together, but it is a spiritual tie. Everything that we do was destiny, and it's really written in the thoughts of Allah. So we have to really be careful, how we seek a mate, how we seek our thoughts, just what we're looking for, because what we want will come to us. And it's so unfortunate to see all of the greed in the world, see people so consumed with these ideologies of materialism, and it goes both ways, as the more pointed out, from the female perspective and the male perspective. And that's why it's so important for us to find a friend. First is to find a friend within yourself, so that we can be comfortable and comfortable in our own skin. And so you have to be happy and love yourself before you can love anyone else. And so that's a grand demonstration here in this Moorish American government. We learn how to love ourselves so that we can have a wife and be a wife. We learn how to be a man so that you can be of worth to your government, to your community, to a woman, to the world. And so, so you can have that confidence, knowing that Allah is leading on and victory is sure. So, gratitude for the mighty measure. Islam and peace.
We give honors to you, Heru Ma'at El Bey. We give honors to you, grand man, for that drawing. Praise be to Allah, Islam, and peace to you, General. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and exercise their fire in regards to dealing with this subject matter? What is a marriage tie? Not what the priest may say or do. There's but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. Islam? Islam, goddess and queen.
Islam, Dr. Dendra Nia Kirtabay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials, and I give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for this wonderful class tonight and talking about Yehoshua reveals the marriage law of man and wife from Allah. And very powerful class you're coming from. Ayah 4, what is a marriage tie? It is not what the priest may say or do. There is but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. And this is such a powerful, powerful class in dealing with basically instructions coming from the great God Allah. And I tell you, you covered so much information, and as you were saying, telling us about, there really is no ceremony or anything in our books that demonstrate, about the marriage, but different cultures or whatnot have they married, the way they do a marriage, and there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't find it in the Quran or our holy books, and also when you was talking about dealing with the marriage, we what we know is what Rome has given us. Pretty much, that's all we knew about marriage, especially being born here in the West, because they had stolen all our teachings and everything. They had taken everything away from us. So quite naturally, we didn't even know what Allah had said about a marriage. We didn't know what our prophet had said about marriage. About the marriage. We didn't know none of that. So quite naturally, we just went with what we had and what we had been given. And like you said, and that's why we see so many marriages, and end up in divorce or whatnot, and our family now. That's why it's so important that we get these teachings, because we got to go and reach our family. We got to go get our sisters and our brothers and teach them these laws from the great God Allah, and teach them what the Holy Prophet has said about the marriage law. And the main thing that stood out to me is when Ayah 3, it says, no priest or officer has the power from Allah to bind two souls in wedded love. And was the one that talks about, this one it says, it is the love of Allah that finds its way into the two, man and woman's heart. And that is all ever to be. Your priest cannot cause this to be. And what he's saying is Allah, the way, regardless of who performed that marriage, if Allah don't get in the man and that woman, you ain't gonna make it. You won't make it. Without Allah being a part of your life, being in that marriage, it won't work. It won't work. And so that's what really stood out to me. Allah is the key. He is the key. And our people have to know that. If you don't have him in your life, if you don't have him, no matter how you try, you can't make nobody do anything, no matter what. If you don't have Allah, you just ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna make it. So gratitude, God, man, for letting me share. I could go on and on because it was so much that you covered. But through the time, we know our Moorish kid is anxious to jump in there. So great class, gratitude for letting me share. Peace and love.
And gratitude for sharing, Goddess and Queen. We give honors to you for that grand drawing. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. The floor is still open, Moorish King. Islam. Islam, grand man. You have the floor.
Gratitude, National Assistant Grand Sheikh. Islam family. Islam. First, let me rise and give all praise to Mighty God Allah. Let me give honors to our Holy Prophet, Noble Joe Ali. We give honors to our Moorish American government, honors to our divine flag, bill, and emblem, honors to Act 1, honors to all our officials, honors to all those that spoke before me, all honors to all those that speak after me. I'm going to try to be brief with this measure as I can. National Assistant Grand Sheik, I am Dr. Akula Rue, Jehudi Bay, Consul General of North Carolina Territory. And this is a grand class, as always, grand man. And as I was listening and trying to write down some notes, there's a few things that stuck out. And I'm going to go to Ayat 10. It says, love is the power of Allah that binds two souls and makes them one. There's no power on earth that can dissolve this bond. And as I was thinking about your demonstration, Grand Man, that ayat stuck out. And I give honors to our prophet for all these laws and lessons that we're gaining here in the Moorish American government. And as much as I can wish and hope that I had this wisdom when I was beginning my journey. Because when I first saw the kid, I didn't know what that feeling was, man. I had no idea. I was raised by my grandparents, and my mother was gone, and my father had remarried, and I had no idea what that marriage tie, that bond between man and woman felt like, looked like. My grandfather and grandmother, they had their differences at times, so I really didn't have an idea what it was. So when Allah brought Saket into my life, it was like, I don't know how a birth of a star is like in the universe, but it was something similar to that, I'm pretty sure. But I had no idea what that was. And so as I went through the journey and on my own and going from relationship to relationship, Allah always made it where I would not forget that I would not forget that He had placed my twin flame in my life. And the way He didn't let me forget, Grandman, is that almost every relationship that I ended up in, I'm going to try to say this real quick. My first girlfriend, her name was Linda. One I had my first child with, her name was Sandra. One I had my first son with, her name was Linda. And when her name is Islam. Somebody has their line open?
Yeah, Stasi Kifon.
Islam.
Stasi Kifon.
Then I had, when I had moved and found another relationship, found myself in another relationship and had my other children, her name was Regina. So great God Allah always reminded me that my twin flame was out there, that these ones were not that. And I give so much praise to the mighty God Allah for giving me the ability to find my way on, so to speak, find my way back to my twin flame. Where you have said that the Most High, Allah, will give you exactly what you desire to teach you a lesson. So I desired for a relationship. I desired to have someone that wanted to love me and so I could love them back. And I thought I could do it on my own. It didn't work out. It did not work out. And I was taught a lesson. And I the prophet is so beautiful, has so beautifully put these measures together. And the way you demonstrated, and where, you know, man is Ish and woman is Isha, that mindset was nowhere around when I was on my journey. You know, like I say, you know, I wish I had these lessons when I was, you know, coming on that journey. But, you know, all is well. I am happy. I am healthy. I am more knowledgeable and more wise than I've ever been in my life. And it's all because of great God Allah led me on that journey and demonstrated how when he puts someone in your life, when he connects you to someone in your life, as it says in Ayat 10, love is the power of Allah that binds two souls to make them one, that no power on earth can dissolve that bond. It's also no matter what I went through, no matter who I connected myself with carnally, it was not going to work until I found my way home to my twin flame. And these lessons are so important for us to understand that who we are as gods and goddesses. It makes us aware that long as we connect ourselves to great God Allah and we give ourselves to Him, and when we come together with our twin flame, that we have that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice within us. And we have to be married to that. We have to be married to those principles along with the love of Allah. So, you know, there's a lot to be said. God, man, I mean, you went into how these ones now have, you know, they don't have that sight. They don't have that vision to be goddesses. These ones out here don't have a sight to be God, man. It's not. They don't have the principles, but they're doing all kind of things outside of themselves, taking themselves away who the great God made them to be, and it's a sad state of affairs. But I give all praise to mighty God Allah that we will be able to just be the message that we bring. That when they see us coming, they know that we are men. They know that we are women. They know that we're gods and goddesses. And because that light shines, it shines bright wherever we go. And we demonstrate that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So gratitude, God, man, you know, I love your class. I love everything about the Moorish American government. And this is just another example of how we just elevate, how we demonstrate, be the message that we bring, the mighty God Allah. So peace and love, family. We love you. Grand class, Shaheed, Islam.
And Islamism without the schism, beloved brother. We give honors to you for all that you do, brother. You know, Jehudi, you know, Islam. All right. Is there any other? Oh, I hear somebody just chimed in. Who that is?
If you're speaking, Dr. Shaheed, we can hear you.
Uh-oh. 1 second here. All right. There we go. Can you hear me now, Grand Man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Yeah, I was just giving honors to you. Pardon the body. Brother Jehudi, we give honors to you, Grand Man. But you couldn't have said it better. Islamism without the schism. Well, all right. Islam. Who is the other more? Yeah, can you speak up a little bit? Yeah, can you speak up a little bit, Brother Larry Daniel Bay, so the Moors can hear you on the line as well? Islam. Can you hear me better, brother? Yeah, I can hear you much clearer now.
Islam, Dr. Larry Jackson Space, Dr. Carolina Wisconsin. First, I rise to give praise and glory to Allah, the most person. I give high honor, holy and divine prophet, the heart shall lead back to our leader, the last prophet these days. I give honor to Act 1 of our divine constitution, and I honor you, brother, always great class, and I honor all my brothers again online. Let's Jesus love. Well, brother, you know, I heard you when you were saying that even if one walk away, you know, you still can't take it away. And I understand that because once a man or a woman learns to love, they become connected to all, because all is based on love. So there's a connection because you learn to love and to find a woman or male or a man that that you fall in love with and they love God and all the righteousness that our prophet is going to us. Because before when we got into the world, so to speak, all we knew, like our chairman tells us, is how to fall in love, and that's not good. See? So when we learn how to love unconditionally, that's another type of love. It's a love that dwells within that circle. See? And outside that circle is those who never really learned to love the way our prophet taught us to love. And to find a woman or a male, a woman to find a male to that love our prophet, that knows how to love, that know what true love is, that knows that everything is connected because everything is made from love. Then when we come into that union right there with a woman, that knows the same thing, it got right because I know that's a lasting love right there because and also like you said, one walk away, that's it's still connected because they still know what love is. Whatever the reason was why they walked away is something else, but still you cannot take away that and not cut that cord of love from your creator once you know what true love is. So our creator still connect her and him together because we're all inside that circle. And to understand that that love that we're speaking of, that the boys know about, unconditional, and it's everlasting, and it's more than just how somebody looks, somebody's social status, any of that, it's a love that's divine because everything is made from love. Once you learn that, you never turn back. That's a great class, brother.
Islam. Now, you want to make it plain. When it come, give me 1 second, good brother. I just wanted to make a statement. We want to make it plain now. It is the bond that Allah brings forth. That love remains, but the bond that a man brings forth, that ain't the same bond. But we give honor to you, brother, for that love thought. It's Allah that unites, but the marriage tie on the man, it ain't the same. Because you fell in it. You can only rise in what Allah has given. We give honors to you, brother Larry Daniels Bay, for the drawing. Islam, who was the other more trying to get in there? Islam, brother.
I'm glad to. Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but thought came to me. This is Dr. Marvin that was saying, Confidential on Texas territory. Praise non-self identity. But I will reiterate all praises to the great God of Allah and highest honor to his prophet. And honor to this Morris American government in itself, God, man, for hosting this most powerful class. And of course, honor to our Morris American government and our officials. And honor to the more that spoke before me. And all that will speak after me. And I I mean, this is powerful. You know, and as I listen to the Moors, and very powerful message, but and I conclude that it is, you know, I think about this love thing in a relationship. You know, when everything is said and done, you know, like it says it in the chapter. And I'm just gonna see if I can find it right quick. Well, where it speaks about what man sees with, you know, his eyes, his carnal eyes. What man don't see is more important, you know. And so, especially when I look back at my life and the marriages I went through, which to me wasn't even a marriage. I mean, at this day and time, I know they weren't. You know, because I didn't know what love was. You know, I'm still learning what love is. You know, and that, so the more I know the great God, Allah, you know, the more He reveals to me, you know, I can see what love truly is. And I mean, I tell you, it's just a sad state of affairs where man has come, you know, especially where we as a people has come and talk about love. If we don't know the great God of Allah, love can't even be entertained. I mean, we can show, you know, some kindness, and that's, you know, nature. But true love is to know the great God of Allah, you know, and He's the one that ordains or say, gives one permission to love, you know, in His name, you know, as far as the relationship is concerned. But doing good deeds, probably say, that your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds. You know, I mean, things like this. This is part of that love, you know, always giving, never expecting anything in return. You know, to come into that realization, you know, that supersedes all of this, like they say, that lust, you know, those desires, those physical desires, you know, that ain't love, you know. But praise the Lord for sending us a prophet, for bringing the message to us, you know, and enlightening our minds, you know, so that we can know what love truly is. And I would say with that, gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace. You heard our National Grand Sheikh. He always quote our sister Tina. You know, what's love got to do with it? Everything. But we talk about love divine all the time. Islam. Throughout the climes in the times. That's what twin flames come into the union. As it was in the beginning, so it is in the end. Islam, is there one more that would like to come forth before we go to the fishes? Islam, brother.
Islam, Grand Class Sister, National Grand Sheik, Bob Class. I don't got that much time left. This is Sean, Washington Emerald Tuck Rabael from the Michigan Consulate. I rise and give all praise to the great God Allah. I give all honors to my prophet, the last prophet of all times, Noble Drew Ali. Give all honors to this dead credit government, the 12 departments. Give all honors to Marcus Garvey, the Morris dead credit government flag. I give all honors to the Book of Fire, 101s, 102s, the Holy Quran, the Hadith, the Book of Ali. Wow, this is a grand, powerful class. Wow. You know, our unconscious brothers and sisters above Mexico, they don't know what love is. It's not lusting. You know, you see some of our people, the unconscious age at a man, you know, chasing a woman, he don't even know her. And I be seeing all that. You got, like the Morris was saying, in the Michigan, the Michigan territories, the General Consulate, you got to love yourself first. You know what I'm saying? You know, even a woman doing that now, she chasing a man on the first day. You know, no, that's lust. You know, that ain't true love. You got to
get to know yourself first. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because everything is within inside of us. The European. We getting married through the European way. The corporation honeymoons, jumping the brooms, going out to the city hall, whatever, city council building and all that. Getting a license and all that, and they gaining off of that. The corporations, that's money. They put money in their system, and if like you were saying, the woman, we supposed to be free nationals. We supposed to be, getting married in this government. That's the ceremony. Every national have a ceremony. From Africa over the continent over there, India over to Hindustan, the so-called Middle East, which that's not the Middle East, it's really Asia. They had their own ceremonies. Every national race, even Mexicans, in these Americas, Cubans, but us, we don't know. We wasn't taught this over here in the West. They didn't teach us in school how to, love your partner or the unconscious Moorish woman, and that's why it's so messed up in our race right now. It's like everything is about money, material things, taking me out to eat, you gotta pay my bills, you gotta get my hair done, you broke, you don't have the right clothes on or fashion design, you're a brokey. And I be hearing women out there talking, oh, he's a brokey. I'm like, wow, it comes for not having a nationality or the proper teachings. We don't know. We wasn't taught this over here in this Northwest of Mexico, the Western way, and in school, they're not going to teach these children, these young people how to love each other, how to have a ceremony. We got to run down into their stuff. And like I said, we got to get licensed and all that. And under the European hands, anything could go. It's nothing divine under them. You just out here lost, confused, lusting, gratitude, grand class, peace and love.
Islam, more gratitude for the measure. I seen a sister the other day. A brother tried to propose to her with $200,000, and she said no. You know what I mean? She wanted the money, but she didn't want the man, so he left her what she was. But Islam, brother, we give honors to you for the drawing. Gratitude. We're gonna go to our officials now. Starting with Sister Set Amun El, Assistant Grand National Secretary of the State. Are you there, sister? Well, all right. Well, let us move forward. We call for our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kanchu Mark Herubay. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Islamism without the schism. That's our religion. Loveism and lawism. Our gratitude comes forth when we rise, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God Allah, the great God of the universe. And we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in this day and in this time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Savior of humanity. We give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. We give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, the Swift Angel, our Mufti, our Royal Council, our secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, a Grand National Seal, a Grand National Emblem, a Book of Fire, the Inclusion of a Nation. We give honor to everything that's Moorish. We give a special high honor to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective. Dr. Shadu Amidi Chef Shuel. It's been a grand class, and we give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We just continue to give the honors where they're due, honoring all true and divine prophets. And we give honors to our ancestors. They have come before us, leading the way. And we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. Islam. And it's been a grand class, Miles. A grand thought pattern to bring forth for our Moorish kin to draw off of, because this is very important for the building of our nations, our families, and dealing with the marriage bond, in which a commitment, a contract, a commitment really is brought forth for one to honor and building the nation, which is the family, and doing one's part as a good citizen. You know, really, when we look at as far as the ceremony itself, and Allah being the one that really is the bonding and the time between one. There's no ceremony that can equate that or that can duplicate what Allah does. The two spirits, so it's more important to understand what the mission is, as one brought out. Then, you caught up in outdoing the Joneses. I definitely look at, I think our Moorish Americans, all of our people who wish for us to have a better nation, have to start to look at this whole thing different. And it's more, to me, I think, you have to start looking at, okay, not a romantic thought pattern that these Romans have brought forward, but it's really, at this day of time, one should be looking for a battle buddy. When you finding a wife or a husband, because we in a battle. So we at war, and for our freedom. And if you ain't got one that's committed to the battle, they're going, 9 times out of 10, of course they leaving. They out of there. It's not going to continue to last. I never suggest one try to go chase one down. The best move for any Moorish American is you find one who's on your path while you doing what you're supposed to be doing. See, when one is in a purpose, as Sister Grant she talks about all the time, what is your talent? When you're in your purpose, you're going to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And while you're doing that, the forces of the universe, called the law of attraction, going to bring one forth that's going to be in harmony with what you're doing. The only thing is that you got to be able to accept what the universe brings to you. See, too much is made up on where they talk about the BBLs and the out one face with all this. They got this witchcraft out here with all this makeup or transform one like, oh, that's, what's wrong with being your natural self? Why don't you like the way God made you? Why you got to transform into something else when God made you perfect? One is caught up into an unrealistic conception of what it means to be a being, a human being, the spirit and flesh. And got the outer form is not where beauty comes from. It comes from within. So I think that when you're trying to have that kind of thought pattern, then you losing out. This is why we got to have that discipline as men and say, okay, well, not in the bones of reason, or flesh thinking the bones of reason. So I got to come about in that flesh when I'm trying to make this decision. I should be trying to make a decision when I know it's not going to put me back into slavery. She's looking for a goddess or a god, man, that I know is out here on the path of liberation, and not just saying it, but watching their works, acts, and deeds and seeing if they do it. Because then you ain't never got to worry about one straying off, because y'all on the same path, y'all going down the same road. And I think what's most important about the marriage is the fact that it allows you to grow by learning how to get along with one along the journey. And seeing your reflection in the other party, learning the strength from your weaknesses from your other partner. And it goes both ways, man, woman to man. And if the Moorish American national, if that man would just, you find you going along the path and then you stick to the script. Meaning, you know, you don't stray from it like the prophet said. You take your time out and heal this one and help this one in their healing. And you stick with them. And, you know, in a sincere way, like I'm here to help you get to be the chief, to be the best that you could be, God woman, goddess. That's my mission, you know what I mean? I don't need to try to take on 4 or 5 at one time. Let me just take on one. Let me help one sister who is really on the path to enlightenment, one sister who's in the struggle or in this movement, trying to bring freedom to her. But let me just help that one. Let me be dedicated and just give her the best Moorish American man that she could ever have and demonstrate that. And see how much abundance and how much blessedness comes out of that. But one got to be dedicated to that. That's what I'm saying. You got to dedicate and say, okay, I'm choosing to be in this battle with you for the long haul. We're going to be battle buddies. We're going to ride it. Use my Bonnie Clyde, as they say, but we on a higher vibration. We're going to ride out. This is what we're doing. We're enlightening our people. And I'm here with you here with me, and we're going to stick on this same path and, you know, read for Allah's ordination. Because it says, take upon thyself a wife, as you said, and bathe it or ordinance of Allah. That is what you're supposed to be doing. But the one got to make the choice. See, the inconstancy can't be there. And that's the problem. Ones are so inconstant, various and wavering, that the foundation can't be built. And so the only way to stay away from being various and wavering is to not go out there going off your path trying to chase one, but find one, or I didn't say find one. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, one is going to come into your vortex, into your atmosphere, into your view. It's the law. It's going to come. One's going to come right in line with you. And you got to say gratitude, thank you, Allah, and not be like, it might be something better. No, you got to give Allah all the praise and thanks for bringing one in line that's in line with you, where you at. And be grateful for that one. Because they don't come like, as ones know they out here singing, the good ones don't come like that. They don't come, ones with good character and good morals and good standards don't come a dime a dozen. There's too much program going the other way. So one, when you see one, you got to praise Allah for that one and stick to the script. So you're going to be in your higher self, that you're going to love one. According to that chapter 25, you're going to assist one and you're going to do what you're supposed to do according to the Constitution. So, you know, if we can stick to those laws and principles, the marriage thing is going to be so easy for us as a nation of people. And it's not hard to recognize it. Just, you know, are you looking at it? Are you looking at it as some romantic demonstration? Or are you looking at the truth of the matter that I need a battle boy? I need one who's going to ride with me through this the battle that we have as a nation of people, and bring ourselves into freedom. And that is that more important than of what you're looking at. So gratitude for this class, National Sister Grand Chief. Gratitude to you, Morris America, for being here with us, giving us your time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace for the measure, brother. Praise be to Allah. Well, all right, let us call on our Grand National Secretary of State, Sister Shepsu Rakat Ma'at Anpu, Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen?
Close as a thought, gratitude.
Gratitude with a divine attitude. Islam.
Islam, grand class. Islam, Moorish kin, family online. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Jurah Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, the angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedu Amenti and Mohammed Jepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law, and also hosting this Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Giving honor to our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. Giving honor to all of those Moors who spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. This has been such a powerful class. Oh my goodness. And I really enjoy listening to the messages, especially coming from our brothers. You know, that's such a beautiful demonstration of strength, the whole. Our subject coming from Ayat 4. What is a marriage tie? It is not what the priest may say or do. There is but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. And I want to give a special honor to you, Dr. Shaheed, also for those words that you brought forth and the definitions coming out of the dictionary of the Holy Quran. The thing that stood out to me, which a lot of times can lead to, if the foundation is not built upon, as our National Assistant Grand Chief has stated, if it's not built upon the laws of Allah, if it's not built upon the holy and divine instructions, our divine constitution and bylaws, the 5 highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and there is not a will to unfold and grow and things of that nature, then that presents a problem. The thing that stood out to me was dealing with that master word of adultery, dealing with dealing with adultery. The law forbids adultery, but in the eyes of the law, adultery is an overt act, the satisfaction of the sensuous self outside the marriage bond. But when we look at it from what our prophet brought to us and the keys that he brought to us, the sin lies in the wish and the desire, not in the act. So when you look at it from the aspect of, oh, well, I didn't like what the God man said, or you dipping in your lower self and things of that nature, and then you want to open up that door to a wandering eye or what have you, this is where the remembrance comes in, recognizing what does the law of Allah state, what does the law of the prophet state, and that should help bring you back in focus and not dwelling in that lower nature. The other word that also stood out, which is opening up a door for that slippery slope, is dealing with coveting. Coveting, demonstrating what is not right for one to have, or an all-consuming wish. And when you speak about something that's all-consuming, then that means that it has totally taken over your mindset. You can't think of anything else but what somebody else has over there, what somebody else is doing. I want to have that, those desires. And see, we have been given, blessed with tools to be able to combat these demonstrations. And that's why it's so critical that both have got to be studying when it comes down to the self, and also being able to see the God in each other. when you are dealing with the definitions in reference to building that marriage, constant study, constant respect for one another, being able to see the blessing, as you spoke about, that lack of gratitude of Allah blessing you with that particular spouse. The other thing that stood out to me was being kind. Love is also dealing with being benevolent, kind, treating one another right as you would want to be treated. And this is part of our law as well, but too often that's overlooked. And when the prophet speaks about to be content is to be happy. And Dr. Kun Shu brought forth a powerful degree because when he spoke about, and that was brought so much clarity, you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to do here in the Moorish American government. And when Allah bless you with a particular God, man, a goddess, then in essence, recognizing the fact that you are on a battlefield, that you are demonstrating, uplifting fallen humanity, which is a 24/7 job. And if you have one that is not on that particular path, or you want to go out and bring forth something that you know is on a straight up manifest level, or maybe you don't know, the thing about it is that opens the door for a lot of unrest, misery, and death. So that was a grand blessing in itself, because not everyone can see the vision of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So this is why it's so key. And before you even speak about dealing with obligating oneself or what have you, has the heart been bound in divine love? So like the Moors stated, I can go on and on, but it's so key to recognize where the loyalties lie. Is it dealing with what Rome has said, or is it dealing with what the Creator has said? And it's not too many out here, which is why it's so critical for us to be able to take these lessons and give it to our brothers and sisters, our children. We're supposed to teach our children the maxims of truth. Let them see us demonstrate by example, and keep Allah and the Prophet out front. So gratitude more for this beautiful and much needed class, and much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
And gratitude, Grand Secretary of the State, for that drawing. We also got to be aware of the ones that are coming in the path, acting like they got the garb on, so to speak, and because we got it, brothers and sisters, who act as if they on the conscious path to reel you in, so we give praises to the great God Allah. We got some of them that try to fake it till they make it. Islam. Well, all right. Let us call forth our National Grand Chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Man, close as I thought. Islam is without a schism. Woo. Man, let me give praises to the last prophet these days and time that was to bring us as Moorish American nationals everything that it takes to save a nation. And what I tell you, well, as you know, I've had multiple wives for years. The thing about it is that when it comes down to marriage laws, this is something here that Allah alone provides through your guidance, through your prophet, through your divinity. And it's not a matter of getting physical, where that you just jump up and down and more than one woman. No, because you got divinity when you talk about marriage laws. Marriage, period, is dealing with divine laws. You're not talking about no accident, something you go out in the alley and get it done. No, when you talk about marriage law, you're talking about divinity. You're talking about the great God. It's all up in there somewhere. Holy prophets all up in there. Sacred scriptures all up in there. And when they talk about these marriage laws, this is what we have to be concerned about. So it's a great one. And believe me, more, I am very professional at this, because as you know,
every one of you know, when you met me, I had more than one wife. So that's from the get-go. Praise Allah. And it's nothing accidental. More, let me tell you something. When the Holy Prophet, when Allah sent the Prophet to you, it's meant for you to have the best. Islam is without the schism.
Islam is without the schism. And the best is in them ingredients that he talked about in the marriage laws, but for the husband and the wife. Now that we know, we can grow on the go. Islamism without the schism. You know, like we say, the prophet forgave us for everything we did before he came. You know, unfortunately, some people couldn't go with us. Everybody can't go, Moses. Islam. We give honor to our chairman for that drawing. Goodness gracious, like he said, you know, he done been through the experience many times over. You know, so he's an expert, you know, when it comes to this thing we call marriage. Well, let us call forth our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. Islamism without the schism. You there, grand man? If you speak in national grand sheik, we can't hear you. There you go. What's love got to do with it?
What's love got to do with it?
Everything.
I'll tell you. You set the standard out. Baby Mo, I'm glad you brought it like you brought it. It gives a lot of clarity to the unspoken word of marriage. And an understanding that, you know, it's, first of all, we know that it's coming from our Father. And it's got to be pure. And you gave us the purity of it this evening. And those that walk beside with that written lecture of marriage being inflamed with one's gospel of truth, being in the loving aspect of he and she, or she and he, and how that demonstration prospers as they unite themselves among their brothers and sisters and become one from the two. And I was thinking that there's so much in here that we look for in a moment's notice when we think about how our brothers and sisters, or how we as a people, tribes, are moving here in Morris America now. And we pray that tonight's lesson gives us a blessing where we can do what the prophet says is the right way and the straight way, and be about our Father God Allah the long way, and not the wrong way. Islam, January 15th, 1929, a warning from the prophet read at the meeting. Everybody involved, all citizens, was in on radical out-of-date speeches while they're working on the streets. We're up for peace and not destruction. Stop passing your cars to Europeans because of confusion. Remember your cars for your salvation. Pay to obey and orders of this severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Failing to obey these orders of this severe consequences. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the covenant or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive a reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws as laid down to them by the prophet They lose confidence in the prophet. They should turn in their car and but she's one of the terrible affairs turned to the state where the prophet found it. This is the holy divine movement founded by the prophet over to Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all warriors to do their part to protect the prophet and the government. This is the holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, by the will of Allah, over to Ali. Sending out a divine plea to all warriors to do their part. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet, for the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by order of the prophet, number 2 Ali. This divine warning is supreme laws now and will be enforced by the state government. Thereby, Islam, Islam, Islam. Holy covenant of the United Nations. And your children want father for bad care, and the rest of one mother has given you son. Bonds of affection, therefore unite thee with our brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you to love you, and prefer not a stranger for thy own blood. Thy brothers in adversity assist them. If I took in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortune of our Father who giveth you support for this whole race and his care be continued to you all, your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is fit to close according to Act 2 of our divine constitution and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, more. We love you. Islam. Peace.
Great class, great class. This is the grand sheet. I'm sorry. Great class, great class.
Great class. Great class. I'm glad. By the way, my wife's name is on you. So you can praise our grand class.
Islam.
This session no longer being
Praise
recorded.
be to Allah. We give honors to you, Moors, for all that you brought forth in your contribution. I want to give honors also to our family out there in social media, Tyrese L, Tyrif Bay, Cobb Maat, Charles Warrior, the Native Basket, all the way from the UK, United Kingdom. We give honors to all of you, and may we all come into the grand degree of the matrimonial Hajj that the great God Allah consummates, because man can't do nothing with that. Islam, we love you, Moors. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
I wish a member would.
Goodbye.